I thought... I tried to ask the blue alicorn. That paradox overwrote me, Twilight. She tried, Trixie explained, giving a smile. After she won, I faced trials much like you did, and I accepted becoming a concept. And the Trixie from the current timeline? You're two leaves on the same tree, nothing more. I became a concept in the previous timeline. Every Trixie since then has been different from me. Amethysta said you were the only major arcana born from a mortal, not the first alicorn born that way. Trixie took a deep breath. Twilight, do not assume becoming a concept means your mortal life. Your mortal connections will mean nothing. As the concept of magic, that includes the magic of friendship. But there are certain things a mortal is allowed that the concept is not. Concepts cannot feel regret. We can feel sadness for our actions, but wishing we could take them back is something of which we are incapable. If you become a concept, you will become the perfect embodiment of that concept. I will be perfect? Not perfection as a whole, just perfection of your concept. For example, I'm the perfect trickery, and I've been behind you the entire time. I blinked, turning behind me to find her standing there. I jumped. But I thought... They chuckled. The Trixie that had been behind me turned to light and reunited with the one I'd been speaking with. I never said I wasn't in front of you as well. I chuckled a little. She then looked grave. Twilight, if you become a concept, it does mean giving up parts of yourself, including many of your mortal values. You'll see just how small your world before really is. Will I stop valuing all my friendships, my mortal friends? I asked quietly. The image of the cold goddess, impassive and indifferent as an asteroid in space, rose to my mind. That got a laugh out of Trixie. You especially have no reason to worry about that. Remember, you'll be magic, and friendship is magic. And if it wasn't, you'd be able to just say it is. She grinned at me. So I imagine you will still love your friends and hold their friendships dear. For all intents and purposes, you'll be the magic of friendship itself. That actually sounds fun. As a concept, it's impossible to predict exactly what personality traits you'll end up gaining and losing. For example, I myself had to give up a considerable portion of my vanity, because Trixie does not believe itself infallible. Ironic, given how Morningstar turned out. And you're all the better for it, I say cheerily. Indeed, I am. But my mortal family resides within my father. While I may speak with them with his permission, I can never truly join them, ever. Really think this choice through, Twilight Sparkle. Because if you don't want it, if you're doing this merely because you think it's expected of you, well then, that'll be the one and only thing you will be able to truly regret as a god. Why'd you do it then, Trixie? Trixie closed her eyes with a soft smile. Cadence forced alicornhood on me when I was an empty shell of a pony. She woke me up to friendship's truths, rather unpleasantly. But I still never valued my biological family the way I should have as a mortal. I didn't take the chance to just move on to death when offered to take the trials. Maybe I wanted to become more than I was. Maybe I wanted to repay Cadence. Maybe it was just a power grab. Maybe I wanted to face Nightmare Eclipse again, given the chance to save the world. Maybe now that I could see the errors I've made, I wanted to help stop others from making the same mistakes. Maybe it was to help you. But it wasn't until afterwards that proper appreciation for my mortal family came. No matter how many times I say it was worth it, the question you need to answer is this. Will this ascension be worth it to you? There will be no turning back. To me, it was worth it. But if it's not to you, don't do it. I know that seems black and white, but that's the question you need to answer. Will it be worth it to you? I paused to think. I think I'd thought about it for 3 years before I finally made my choice. You keep saying this should be about me, and what I want. But that's not the kind of spirit I'd want to be. When my friends and I all joined together to free the world, first from Discord, then from Nightmare Paradox, I felt joy at the idea of those ponies being freed from misery, free to experience happiness in life as they chose to. I want to share that joy. Unmake me and create me as a concept. Amethysta sighed and agreed. Then as the alicorn of the High Priestess, I unlocked your untapped wisdom and power, and gift you with a touch of my magic, and opened the doorway to your rebirth. The concept of prayer kissed me on the forehead. And Fauna Luster, I might be blushing, she let me in. I returned to where I came from. I, Twilight Sparkle, ceased to exist. I, the alicorn, always had been. I was returned to what I was born from, entangled into yarn and rewoven from the threads up. Amethysta hadn't been joking. I really did have to die to be born again. You could almost say, as Pinkie Pie said, she kept sneaking in to say hi. Don't ask who's Pinkie Pie. I was unbaked, she changed the recipe, and I was cooked again. I spent billions of years within Mother Fauna Luster, adjusting to being an absolute part of the cosmos. You don't remake a mortal pony into a concept and just send them on their way. No, I wasn't imprisoned. Mother Fauna Luster is everywhere, so I was everywhere. My brother and sister Alicorn stood in a circle according to the numerical order of the major arcana as I finally pushed my way out. Waves of pleasure and happiness rippled across Alicorns and those born from them everywhere. Mother Fauna Luster was in joy. Yes, Cadence was there too. So was Anasi, alongside the rest of the known minor arcana. Now, I'm not telling who was there. The shadows who watch need some surprises. Eyes were pinky and Fluttershy, little Fluttercurl holding her hoof. I exchanged smiles with them as I emerged, and when I did, I sent shockwaves across creation. I stood proud, spreading my wings. With the rainbow of light in one hoof and the rainbow of darkness in the other, I do not write the rules. I do not oversee the rules. I am the rules. I am magic! My little pony, I give you your name. Princess Amishitia Zoria Space Equestria. That is who you are, who you were, and who you shall be. Princess Amishitia Zoria Space Equestria. Just the arrangement of syllables alone was enough to make me laugh for joy. There are those who say magic is telling creation what to do in words it can't refuse. They are wrong. Magic is not bullying the universe. It is guiding it along the road you wished for it. I am magic. I have said this, so it is so. And with it, I suddenly look back to my mother, and truth dawns on me. I finally understand it all. How choices and destiny can march side by side, not as enemies but as partners. Same as life and death, beginnings and endings, the sun and the moon. And I understand, finally and fully. Upon a lesser in Yahweh, I understand you. I understand how and why you love. What you actually love, just a little bit better. Not perfectly, for I am not the perfect understanding. I am the perfect magic. My present family all stomped and clapped their hooves. Brother Fortuna looked very satisfied. Abtisa looked apologetically at me. Penicillus's face was still. Tears came down his face. Anasi was smiling as wide as she could. Welcome to the family, little sister. Fluttercurl seemed a little scared, uncertain at the sight of me. Fluttershy smiles at me and nuzzles her daughter to comfort her. I think he asked the alicorns if we can have a birthday party for me. I was only a few instants old after all. Kayan comes close and nuzzles me. Sunshine, sunshine. I nuzzled back. Ladybug's awake. Clap your hooves and do a little shake. Twilight. No, I'm Shithia. My little sister. Twilight, please, I say, but it felt like a full hood nickname now. I want you to know, I'm so happy to have you as a member of our family. And Kayan stops herself. She looks sad? No, ashamed. Of what? She gently nuzzles me, covering me with her wings. It's simple for me to fold my wings around her at the same time. She must have seen the look on my own face, because she said, you shouldn't fixate on things that haven't happened yet. I won't fixate on things that already have. I already know you're going to be a wonderful goddess, Twilight Sparkle. I spent some time getting to know my siblings. We were family after all, and they wanted to welcome me. But eventually, I had to go. Getting back home, I still had friends and a responsibility. But I wasn't the only alicorn with unfinished business. Mishitia, Twilight, may I speak to you for a moment before you leave? Nasi stood behind me, with one of those playful but caring smirks only she and Perellis seemed capable of. Yes, Anasi? It's been a mark of accomplishment in my eyes that I was capable of leaving a mark on you before. But you said it yourself. What point is a grudge once the enemy has become a friend? I blinked in confusion. What do you mean? Nasi then gave me a nuzzle to the left side of my face. I felt magic flowing as I returned it. I was magic. She pulled back. I forgive you. That's what I mean. You're free. I felt lighter. Thank you, Anasi. I said as I cried. What are your sisters for? She smiled with me. As Clover, Meadowlark was the only sibling I had known. At Twilight, I sometimes had the fantasy of Cadence as my sister, or maybe Celestia as another mother. But I never dreamed the day would come when Trixie would be my sister, or that I couldn't be happier for it. I hugged her. Our horns glowed, and the stars danced around us. However long later, I noticed something floating in her telekinesis. Huh? Just something else I wanted to show you, she said, showing me the same magician card that Rhoda had shown me before. But now with my picture on it, I looked beautiful. You earned it, little sister. Happy birthday. I decided making my friends wait till the apocalypse for me to come out of my shell would be kinda sorta really heartless of me. So I repossessed my body a few minutes after my big sister Luna had finished explaining everything. I didn't mean to knock them all off their hooves when I transformed my body. It just sorta happened. Baby sister! Princess Celestia cheered as she flew up and hugged me before the light from the explosion had faded. Yeah, Celestia called me baby sister even though she's the fool right now. Hey everyone, I smiled awkwardly at them. I'm back. Seven jaws hit the floor. Welcome back, baby sister, Princess Luna smirked. Don't you start too. Half-flat! Alpie rushed towards me to give me a hug, and skidded to a halt, looking up at me with awestruck eyes. You're big! I smiled and rubbed her head lightly. She's about average size for an adult alicorn, my night sister said calmly. Applejack said, Twilight, is that really you? That's me, your friend. I nuzzled Applejack. Spike looked at me and said drolly, well, this is embarrassing. I thought I was the big and strong one who got to protect you now. Jeez. That's not all you contribute, Spike. You did protect me, and us. Several times, you brilliant dragon. Don't sell yourself short. Darby, stop with the genuflecting, I said, while Rimadash fainted. Rarity caught her in her chaste lounge and immediately set to work reviving her. Minty Pie surprisingly didn't faint. She looked up at me and said, "I guess the Minty we came from will live forever now." I didn't ask how she knew. She had looked into truth after all. I nuzzled her. "Minty will live forever." "Just look at you, dear. You're naked. No good for an alicorn. We have to do something about this at once." Rarity cut herself across her side. "Rarity, you don't need—" Too late. Her blood crystallized and shaped itself as she saw fit. Her telekinesis slipped on a crown shaped like the element of magic's tiara, and perfectly fitted pieces of alicorn barding followed. Pink spinel cut in a 6-point star atop my crown and chest plate. My new barding had more artistic flourish than Eclipse's bold armor, and the bright silver no longer felt so ironic. "Rarity, you're still quite a fashion genius." Rarity gave an overdramatic bow. "Perhaps it's not too late to reopen my boutique." Apple Pie finally asked, How's your mane moving when there ain't a wind? Why is it all glowy and looks like the weird sky on the ends?" "Those are the colors of twilight, and the leylands are what move my mane." "Wait, what? Oh yeah, Magica talked about those. Magic wordland thingies." I felt a bit irritated at her referring to me as a thingy. Yes, me. I am magic, remember? Leylands are magic, thus I am the leylines, in addition to friendship and all the other thingies I am. Hermidash came to and shook her head, and genuflected. I was gonna have to get used to this. "Trust me, it'll go easier if you just enjoy it," Luna said, seeing my face. Then she glanced over to see Celestia was bowing as well. "Celestia! Just having some fun, Lulu." "Just when I thought we'd run out of prizes," Hermidash said. "Oh, we haven't, Hermidash. Not by a long shot. We've saved ourselves, the world, and now you're an alicorn." "I really want to just take a nap now," Hermidash growls, almost irritated. "Don't worry, Rainbow. I promise you can rest as much as you want now." "About time." "Respect, please," Luna said sternly to the Pegasus. How odd, coming from a filly. "It's okay, sis," I told Luna. "I don't mind." "Sister?" the others all said. "Like, duh," Celia chirped. "We were all born from Mama." "I'll explain," I said, and did. No, a temple of soapboxes did not come into being, thank you. I merely provided soapboxes for them all to sit. "Oh, and our mother says I love you." Luna looked shocked. "So all our siblings, they're all right?" Sally was confused. Why wouldn't they be? Luna and I looked at each other, then at Sally. "No reason." I never realized how tiny and fragile my friends were. If it hadn't been their choices and we hadn't been out of options, I'd have felt sorrow for putting their mortal lives in danger before. But I didn't feel regret. With things settling down, we noticed what had been cast aside when Paradox had been defeated. My vessel was my original body from this world. Nightmare Paradox had been using another. When Paradox had been exorcised, the body had again reverted back to its original form, its soul with Father. Unfortunately, Silly had been the first to see it. "Wind Whistler?" she asked, approaching the cold body. In the dream world Discord had given her, Mortis had never once treaded. She nudged the body. "Wind Whistler, wake up. Come on, we're celebrating." I gave a look of sorrow as Sally kept trying to wake her friend. I don't think any of us could bear it anymore. Luna walked over and put a hoof on our shoulder. "Sally, Wind Whistler's with Father. She's okay. She just isn't here." I can't tell you how much it hurt to see not just a filly, but my sister and mentor cry, to realize her friend was dead. Verity once more made a coffin, and we held a small funeral. Luna had so much more she wanted to say, how the Pegasus had given her life for her friend, but held it back, so our sister could enjoy the third childhood Discord had given her in his rare moment of genuine selflessness. I knew it from my memories. He'd done it not just so she could be happy, but to protect her from Paradox, from me. After the funeral had ended and Sally stopped crying, I enacted my first use of my divine magic. I created from memory 7,000 copies of every volume, edition, side story, adaptation, and version of the Daring Do franchise. Yes, even Daring Do and the Crystal Skull. Though I will never, ever bring that horrible con-made Daring Do crossover back into existence in any form. Next, I restored every comic book, graphic novel, and cartoon series of Super Saiyan I could remember for Apple Pie. Then I transformed Fluttercrawl's torture chambers into a new library wing, washing away the blood and sin. I teleport all the books and multimedia neatly into their shelves. I felt the castle's gratitude. Now if only Applejack would stop prostrating at me. Apple Pie began shooting her mouth off, asking me to do any number of carnival tricks. "Apple Pie, why I'm a circus clown." "It's alright, Applejack," I said, falling back on what Celestia did in her princess days when fillies asked her to make the day longer or shorter. I simply smiled and nodded as Apple Pie jabbered on. "Hey, look what I can do!" Celestia said as she did several cantrips to impress the small filly. "Sister, magic is not a toy," Luna snapped. "Huh, it's not?" Celestia patted. "No, I'm not a toy," I said as the final authority. "Twyla?" Applejack asked. A part of me blushes at that name now. Did it hurt, becoming like this? Yes, kind of. But it wasn't a bad pain. Like when a butterfly spreads their wings and pumps blood into their wings for the first time. They bleed a little, but it's just part of them getting ready to fly. You know, nobody's gonna believe us, that we're the ones who beat Discord, then beat a psycho you to save everything. Even if the Apple Pie and the Diamond Dogs know we're the good guys, not every pony is going to be as forgiving or tolerant as your #1 fan, Twilight, Rainbow Dash said. What did you beat Discord at? Checkers? Celestia asked innocently. And forgive you for what? Did he go over the top on a prank he talked you into? There was this time with help from surprise he switched the gummy worms for real worms in the kitchen, but he was really sorry after. We all shut up about Discord for the time being. Rainbow Dash then turned to me directly. She looked at me with pleading eyes. Are they still there? I blinked. What do you mean? The other nightmares, are they still in you, just, not evil? She asked. It wasn't suspicious. It was hopeful. And it broke my heart when I realized why. Or are they alicorns too and coming later? It cold me a little to tell her. No, they aren't. I honestly don't know what happened to them. I don't know where they are. They're no longer with me or in this world, Rainbow. Maybe they moved on to the afterlife or the spirit world when I lost, since their lives were chained to mine when they entered this world with her, not independent like Paradox's. Maybe they're on their own journeys, I offered, even though I had less than zero proof of that. It hurt me that the 5 friends, my 5 friends, I had twisted into monsters were gone somewhere, and I hadn't had the chance to tell them I was sorry for what I had done to them. I never had a chance to heal them, to restore them, to make amends for what I had done to those who loved me as much as any friend ever has. Hopefully, wherever they are, they're looked upon for who they were, rather than what I manipulated them into becoming. Applejack, Pinky, Fluttershy, Rainbow, Spike, I really did fail you. Wherever you are, I hope you'll forgive me someday. As I have judged others and ripped their friends' way, so too have I been judged. This wasn't some divine curse of fate. It was the consequence of my own actions, my punishment. Verity heard this and hugged Applejack for support. Applejack gently hugged her back. Spike's tail joined in the hug. Rainbow's head fell. So Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy, they're really gone for good, she said, crying. I trotted over and put a wing on Rainbow's back. I know. For what it's worth, they're both happy. They were there when I became Amachitia. Even if I know they're happy, I pull her close and put up a barrier to block us from sight and earshot. I cover her with my wings, giving her the privacy she needs. I know. I'll always miss them, Rainbow Dash. There's nothing wrong with grieving. Just let it out. Derpy and my sisters let us have our grief. Minty sighed, looking at her reflection in the Sword of Seasons, then looked up at the sky, her eyes a tiny bit moist. Goodbye, Pinkie Pie. And we just hugged silently as Rainbow cried it out, letting everything go and crying. I don't think any of us needed it as much as she did. All the pain she'd kept inside her for so long. All the loss. She finally looked up at me. Thanks, Twilight. What are friends for? Yeah, just don't tell anyone I cried, alright? Of course, Apple Pie, the ever-observant and innocent little filly, was the one to notice something else once that was done. Half-Flat, Sally and Luna said you joined with Paradox and made her all nas, right? I sighed, not running from it. Yes, I am all the ponies I was before this, not just Twilight and Eclipse. Okay, then what happened to the scar? I blinked in complete shock. Wait, what? I asked, remembering the scar, the wound that had never healed, that nothing could heal. Parody, I need a mirror! Yes, Laugh-Hiv. I was so shocked I forgot I could will one into existence. A second later, I was looking at myself in a crystal mirror. My face was fine. The horrible burn that Inatsi's last strike had managed to leave ingrained so deep, a being as powerful as Paradox could not heal it, not by new bodies or fusions with old ones. It was gone, just purple fur in its place. But that's impossible. When did I lost it when I ascended? No, that isn't possible. Nothing I'd done, no matter how powerful I got, could heal that scar. The ponies I'd met in the tests never mentioned me having it, but why would they? It wasn't in the context of the situations to even know I had a scar, and Razaru would have no reason to mention it. So when could it have? It's been a mark of accomplishment in my eyes that I was capable of leaving a mark on you before. But you said it yourself. What point is a grudge once the enemy has become a friend? Half-Flat, you okay? You're crying. I gave a smile. Yes, I just realized how lucky I am to be forgiven. Thank you, Inasi. We stayed there, at the top of Castle Chaos. No, on top of the Canterlot Castle. It may have been twisted and warped, but it wasn't Discord anymore. None of us had a watch to keep time, and Luna and Sally weren't changing the day yet, but we spent at least a day there, judging from when the headache from the telepathy spell I'd used on Rainbow Dash kicked in. Applejack provided fruit from her garden. We laughed that we were out of all-powerful psychopaths trying to kill us. We cried that Sparkler, Fluttershy, and Pinkie Pie, and Apple Pie's friends, were gone. We smiled that we were still alive. Minty Pie, Apple Pie, Sally, and Lulu played hopscotch. With Sally distracted by Apple Pie and Luna, we compared notes on Minty's crazy adventure and ours. Minty admitted that she'd broken down a couple times, thinking how she was tempted to simply walk away after stumbling into things before she'd overcame the silly idea a rock farmer had no business being a hero. Rarity and Spike, at her request, began writing a list of political, economic, social, and spiritual points that were going to have to be addressed now that Discord wasn't destroying equine efforts every 5 minutes, constructive or not. Then Rainbow Dash tore it up, telling her to get with the program and enjoy the moment of victory a little. Dorpy did the sweetest, most wonderful thing she could do after 1,000 years. She rested. Apple Pie and Applejack said the castle was glad the fighting was over, so the damage done to it could finally cease. I did the castle the kindness of healing its wounds. Apple Pie suggested we name it. Maybe it should pick its own name, Rainbow pointed out. She hadn't taken long to accept the castle was a sentient creature. She was so tired I think she'd have accepted that Celestia was her mother. Apple Pie looked down at the stone blocks. So, what name do you want? I think the entire castle jumped in surprise. That was likely the first time in its entire existence anyone had asked it what it wanted. Rainbow smiled. I know how you feel. Take all the time you need. Stones moved slowly on the ground and rearranged themselves into the name the castle has chosen for itself, or herself, as the case may be. Eden. Nice to meet you, Castle Eden, Rainbow Dash said. Luna looked a little awkward and annoyed that her and her sister's castle was now alive. For Sally, it was just another new, exciting thing to explore. There was still the Ursa Major in the living room, but I just teleported it somewhere fairly distant from ponies and with enough prey around to support it. But we also had the major issue none of us wanted to talk about. The sea ponies, who hadn't conveniently all died, turned into earth ponies, or been swept under the cosmic rug like they have never been. How much had they seen? Sky Ocean continued to float in the sky in the distance, their bodies glowing in the twilight. They are beautiful, I whispered. After the battle, neither Applejack nor Rainbow Dash were in the mood for wrestling. For the first time in 1,000 years, both Tom Colts settled for simply talking. Minty was eager to learn some history from both of them, and they the finer points of her own death-defying adventure, but I could tell something else was on her mind. Minty Pie glanced up at Rainbow when she reached the point in her story of her arriving to help defeat Paradox. Rainbow Dash, are you sorry you weren't a part of that? Part of what? The big harmony thing we did, Minty said. I think by then it had hit Minty. She'd basically been the keystone of the entire spell. Nah, being loyal means being there in case you're needed. Besides, it means I got a ringside seat to a one-time show. Plus, Applejack interceded, we'd all be dead if you and the princesses hadn't thrown a wrench in Paradox's works. Rainbow chuckled. Like I said, in case I'm needed, not just when I'm needed. Minty then asked Rainbow about Pinkie Pie, and both talked about the pink pony that was both their friend, even if Rainbow only knew half of it. I conjured up a mountain, more like a very large hill, of jewels for Spike. All yours, Spike. Consider it 1,000 years' worth of back pay as my #1 assistant. Spike kissed Rarity, and dove his head into the treasure and began to fill his belly. Are you going to, I whispered in your ear, unplug yourself when Spike's head is run? Maybe, maybe not. That's the thing, that grade. It's never enough. There's always more to have. I no longer need to worry about Spike leaving me after he dies if he still loves me enough to stay with me. I'll just have to make sure he doesn't try to eat himself when I give his soul a gem body. Part of life is letting go. But greed never lets go. She didn't say this hatefully or intensely, or even indifferently. It was calm, wistful, almost warm. I didn't let go of Tom. Even if he's gone to your father, a part of him will always be with me. Some part of Spike will always be as well, one way or another. So you aren't envious of me? You're confusing me with the Rarity that existed 1,000 years ago. I'm no longer fixated on my outward image. Envy is where you hate somebody for having something you don't. Jealousy is where you are protective of what you have. Greed wants it all, and that includes godhood. But I have no desire to go through ghastly nightmaredom to get it, thank you very much. Besides, myself and Denki are the last unicorns. The unicorns survive in the verticorns, same as the zebras. I know, but there's a comfort in being unique, and you are quite unique now, Twilight. What I've become is not with responsibility, Rarity. It is responsibility. Good. I spent the last 1,000 years controlled by someone who would power without responsibility. It's more than that, Rarity. I've given up eternal rest for an eternal burden. My family, our friends were gone. I can't be with them. Rarity looked a little startled at that one. I could practically see the images of her parents and sister flashing across her eyes. I see. I need to ask you something. I'm the concept of magic, maybe even happy endings. If I knew how to give this world a happy ending, even if it came at a great personal cost, would you say it's worth it? Depends on the exact nature of that great personal cost, Twilight. I look up at the sky. Rarity, you can't see them, but there are stars out there, roughly 2 septillion of them. And that's not counting the ventillion growing number of universes for every new choice. Rarity, when you can do anything, really do anything, you need to prioritize. I have bigger responsibilities than this one little planet I happen to love. If I stayed, I'd be selfish. Twilight, don't be absurd. Celestia, Luna, Cadence, they all stayed here. Why wouldn't you? What makes you different from them? It's complicated. Try me. I sighed. This wasn't going to be easy. They stayed here because that was their responsibility and part of their growth. Normally, when an alicorn is born, they live as a spirit and then as a mortal to appreciate both ends of the scale. I've already lived as a mortal, so now I have to live as a spirit. And you can't feel them, Rarity, but I can. Ponies, countless ponies, across so many threads, meeting final fates they don't need to, because the darkness wanted them to. Maybe I just want them to meet a kinder fate, but it's too much, Rarity, it's torture. I can't just tune them out. There's already a happy ending to the story. This world doesn't need me anymore. The other worlds do. So I can't stay. Oh, Sapples, you're so fixated on the vastness of the universe, little misguided goddess, that you've forgotten where you are, who you're with. Forget the beyond. Look around you at the here and now. What's real? What's in front of you? What you can see and touch. Live, blast it, live! This world where we make our choices that'll determine everything of what's waiting for us. Here, now, us. The past is frozen and the future is vapor. This one moment is when we're alive. That's the truth to you? It is truth! I smile. And that's why it's you, Rarity. Her confusion was epic. Why is what's me? The reason I chose to come back was for all of you and those I love. The reason I had to come back was you. Thank you, Rarity, for setting me free. Now, I will give you what you desire. I spread my wings. My horn glows. Every dragon and pony stops what they're doing and turns their heads. They can feel what's happening in their bones, in every fiber of their being. Some primal instinct stirring inside them. My aura intensifies as I actively touch all that is. Every pony, everyone everywhere, feels my magic. From Dinky to the lemon ponies, to the sea ponies, to Tiamat, to the hippogriffs. It all barely takes a thought. I'll admit it, I honestly scared myself. After all, responsibility and power should never be separated. I, Princess Amachitia Zoria Spes Equestria, concept of magic, the first Tarot, the magician, by divine creed, by the blessing of my mother and father, who are all that is, make this so in this moment, and having always been so, and always will be so. Miss Rarity Bell, Rarigreed, Lady Zyre, all the world, universe, and everything, one and all, within it and you, all belongs to her now, always before and always after. May this be reality, recognized and acknowledged by all. Rarity stared at me, trying to speak. Twilight, you can't just do that. I gave a small smile. Rarity, Paradox was the ruler of the universe, even as she conquered it. I was her, therefore I am the ruler of the universe. But I don't want the position anymore. You do. So, I abdicate my throne to you. But Celestia and Luna are the rightful rulers of Equestria. You're right, Rarity, and they are my sisters. Selly, Lulu, I move that Rarity is the one most fit to rule. What say you? Sure, Selly chimed in. Luna looked thoughtful for a second, then nodded. If you believe it to be best, then so do I. I give them a nod. All right then, I said, then clear my throat. With the authority vested in me by my parents, who are everything, and the approval of my sisters, the sun and moon, I declare Rarity Bell ruler of the mortal universe and all it holds. And it was so. The castle belonged to Rarity. The Daring Do books I created belonged to Rarity. All Sweet Rock Acres belonged to her. The jewels I had just given to Spike belonged to her. Equestrian Napalm belonged to her. Magica's severed horn belonged to Rarity. Applejack's hat belonged to Rarity. Applejack belonged to Rarity. All in the same way you knew that fear was something to listen to, or that the sun's warmth felt good. And every pony there knew it, and accepted it, the way you accept having 4 legs and a face, which is precisely what it was. I put my horn to Rarity's head. I stopped pretending this body was all I was, and reached out across the magic that lived in all things. The ley lines were me. All magic everywhere is me. And now, I connected Rarity to all of me. I was everywhere, and now Rarity felt through me, saw through me, heard through me. She felt herself. She felt Spike not that far from us. She felt the breezes in Napon. She felt Tiamat in Dracotopia. She felt the robot ponies Strife had declared life on their homeworld circling a distant star. She felt their homeworld and their star. She felt everything. She heard everything. She saw everything. She began trembling, sweat running down her face. What is this? What are you doing? It is yours. All you see, all you feel, all you hear, all you sense right now is yours. From your own horn to the breezes in Napon to a distant solar system on the other side of the cosmos. You, Rarity Bell, it is all yours. I finally broke contact. She was trembling like she was in an earthquake. But, if... Rarity was shaking like mad. Spike tried to come to her side. I reluctantly kept him away with a simple barrier that could withstand an atomic bomb at point-blank range. My horn glowed. You will say it, Rarity. Her eyes were pinpricks. If I own anything, then I can't get any richer. What am I supposed to want for now? There's nothing more for me to want. There's nothing for me to be greedy for. Rarity cried out in dismay. It's not fair. My horn glows. It is perfectly fair. You wanted everything, you have everything. I gave you everything as a gift. Why is it so wrong? I did want everything, and now I have everything. Was this? Was it just a dream, a vague goal? No, I had wanted everything. Just other things sooner than later, didn't I? Isn't this the final goal of greed? Isn't this what my immortality would bring me anyway, where all is mine? And now I was born to own the world. Wasn't the joy of greed making things yours? But when it's all done, is it all empty, just to guard it forever? Was this really the end result? When you grasp for more, the less you have, some ponies say. But what if you could grasp for all and have it? What then? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to want? My greed has no purpose! Rarity! Rainbow Dash tried to come to her, only to be lifted in the air by Luna's magic. Wait for it. I wanted all 6 elements of chaos, to be complete, to be whole, to be the best and most I could be, for my friends and myself. But what now? Now that this goal is gone, what was the point? When you become a liar, you leave a mark on yourself that can never truly go away. A mark of distrust that can never completely wash away. What happens when your lie grows beyond your control? When it multiplies in the hearts and minds of others, and ignorance spreads? Cracks appeared in one of a set of 6 dark gems. When you're angry, you give away your reason to the wind. Tranquil fury is a savage wearing a pretty mask. Throw away the lemons and demand oranges, and all you have is nothing. Tragedy is random suffering. Nothing more, nothing less. The way it binds others together is with chains, not with growth. When you're cruel, you close your heart off to others. You become alone. You have nothing. And what goes around comes around. When you send your cruelty out into the world, it'll eventually find you. Despair serves no purpose other than to drag you into the depths and keep you there forever, unmoving, unthinking, unliving, like you've ceased to exist. As for greed, the more you take, the larger your burden. The more you have, the more you can lose. The larger you grasp, the more things that pass you by. The lights within the 6 dark gems' cracks shine brighter, connecting to each other. To take is to imprison yourself, adding to the chains one by one. Greed's joy is to always take more, but always more to guard, more to have, more to lose. Things won't hurt you, things won't disappoint you, things won't deceive you. Things won't heal you, things won't surprise you, things won't love you. Things all wait, and when you have everything, it's crushing. If everything is mine, then what is there to define it by? I have nothing. Isn't a pony entitled to the sweat of her flanks? No, says Mare, it belongs to the poor. No, says Cancelot, it belongs to Celestia. No, says Pinkie Pie, it belongs to everyone. And when all you help is yourself, when all you work for is yourself, when all you rely on and trust is yourself, you become a tiny island in a vast, vast ocean. Be generous to yourself, care for yourself, love yourself, because you're the one that deserves it the most. And every pony is yourself. We aren't meant to be alone. It's true. Tears fell down Rarity's face and hit the ground. The 6 dark jewels exploded from within, changing shape and form and fittings. They all became a brilliant white, shining like a mother of pearl. Every color is one. The frames connected to each other, becoming inseparable, and joined with a 7th piece. This was truth. White hands erupted like an army of ghosts from within Rarity, wrapping around her like threads in a cocoon. Like a caterpillar covering itself in fast motions, Rarity's body was enveloped in the white threads. They closed in around her, tightening like a second skin, leaving only her white outline that began to glow like a mother of pearl. The entire planet rumbled. Rarity wasn't waiting like I did. Here she comes! Big Sister Celestia covered her ears and opened her mouth. Luna did the same. The others mimicked them, even Spike, as he tried to get closer to the love of his life. Rarity blew up into a pillar of light. It pierced the twilight sky and shattered it, revealing a blue sky with white clouds that carried water rain. In the shockwave across the checkerboard ground, greens of various colors grew from the ground, spreading across the castle, across Equestria, across the planets, closing in a circle in the Breezy's home. The sky and the earth, they gave life again. Death wasn't taking any more trophies today. I finally understand, was Rarity's voice, but not Rarity. Like it was more Rarity than Rarity. Like the Rarity who had existed before was a faded photograph, and this was the more real Rarity. She was beautiful, that was a given. But her beauty was omnipresent. In rags or dirt, her beauty would have shined through. In the depths of the earth or in a castle or a flour mill, it would have shined. She was beautiful the way the ocean was beautiful, the way the sky was beautiful, the way life was beautiful. The base of her throat still held a familiar jewel. Her mane was as curled and flowing as ever, but this was now its natural state, not done by hours and hours of curling every night. Her now much longer mane moves the way the world moved under your hooves, wavering with every geothermal ripple. It sparkled like every thread was flexible amethyst. Her eyelashes were no longer false. Her coat was polished white, neither dust nor grime could touch it. Her eyes were much the same, except they now held knowledge and experience they hadn't before. She moved with purpose and grace that all the world flowed around. Her key mark had become a single reflective jewel. She looked at the others, and Minty, Derpy, Rainbow, Applejack, Apple Pie, Luna, and Sally all bowed their heads to her, like we all had for Celestia in the past. Luna and Celestia did it more seemingly out of politeness, like you would with the master of the house you were staying in. Spike stared in teary-eyed paralysis at her loveliness. On the other side of the planet, Breedy's and the unique ponies in Napon bowed in Rarity's direction. Still bowing, Rainbow Dash looked at Applejack. I won't turn into a goddess if you don't. Deal? Deal. Alter server, Derpy seconded. Luna smiled and said in a tone opposite of her words, but it's about time. Yeah, Mama! Apple Pie got up and looked on as her entire world changed. Minty Pie overlooked the castle's edge, thinking how she was witnessing the end of an era. The entire castle shook as it and Rarity's horn glowed. Oh, don't worry, my dear. I already know that you're going to love this makeover, the white alicorn teased like a hairdresser. The curse of ever-twisting mad reality within the castle's countless entry halls was erased, and the castle changed, greatly. It transmuted before their eyes into a style and shape much closer, but not exact, to Canterlot Castle, though with a crystal and jewel motif rather than the sun and the moon. For Derpy, Rainbow Dash, and Applejack, it was a return of the castle of the past. This is fun! Sully shouted. The castle responded by forming a rock slide out of the roof for her to play on. Luna frowned slightly. My bedroom better be back to normal. Discord turned it into an underwater prancing broom closet. I promise you, Big Sister, it is intact, the white alicorn said. Rarity! Spike finally got close and hugged the white alicorn with a might to crush boulders. He didn't so much as bruise her. Are you okay? Are you sick? Do you feel fine? Are you still you? Rarity! Spike, be calm. And so Spike became calm. Rarity, is that still you? Twilight, what did you do? And here it comes. I saw the angry, somewhat suspicious glares coming once the awe of the moment ended. And no, I wasn't insulted. Wouldn't you be suspicious of the pony who, a few hours ago, in mortal time, was a time-warping, insane proto-goddess who'd warped 5 of my friends into the same thing? It's alright, Spike. If anything, I feel more whole than I've ever been. She nuzzled him, and Spike felt like he was touched by the whole mortal universe. Twilight, said Rainbow Dash, looking a bit betrayed. And yes, I do feel sorry for making Rainbow feel that way. Hey, don't talk to Twilight like that, Minty said to Rainbow Dash. Luna and Sully flapped to Minty's side and nodded. Applejack stood by Rainbow Dash wordlessly. Derpy looked at both sides at the same time, staying neutral. Apple Pie stayed put rather than side with a pie or apple against the others, only looking at me hopefully that I'd give all the answers. Friendship is magic, and I am magic. If I couldn't feel guilt for hurting my friends, even if I needed to do so, I'd be going against my own concept, my very self. Even Morningstar and despair at their worst couldn't betray their concepts. Don't fight, Rarity looked to the others, and don't be angry with her. Machitia gave me the option to become a concept. I was offered a chance to turn back and thoroughly told the price of concepthood by my sisters and brothers. I never expected helping Melody with a High School Musical would count as a test of worthiness of godhood, and Lickety-Split, Masquerade, Northstar, and Gusty know how to make a seamstress feel wanted. And there was the game of tag and unicornia before I was glad to meet Mother. But I am an alicorn by my own choice, and Machitia simply recommended me. Rainbow walked over to Rarity, ignoring over half of what she said. Without being asked, the alicorn nodded and allowed Rainbow to touch her hoof to her chest. Free will. My little sister didn't change at all. I stand by what I just said. Rainbow nodded, then turned to me. She still looked a bit upset. Twilight, you're not going to run around turning us all into alicorns, are you? Spike and Apple Pie looked excited at the idea, Minty and Derpy surprised. Applejack's expression didn't change. I shook my head. No, Rainbow Dash. Apple Pie and Spike's faces fell. I helped Rarity ascend because it was the happiest ending I could give this journey. And while I can't say it often, I am sorry I had to trick my friend to do that. But no, I swear to Fauna Luster, the mother of all things, I'm not turning the rest of you into deities. Apple Pie kicked a rock, and Spike snorted in disappointment. I've gone down that road once. I'm not doing it again, I said, fearful at the idea. Why, darling, do you want to be one, Rainbow Dash? Rarity asked, looking right into Rainbow Dash's heart, smiling. You might be simply dashing as one. She trotted towards her. What? Rainbow Dash blushed, taking a step back. No, of course not! Rainbow Dash waved her hooves and fixed her glare back at me. And what if I say I don't forgive you? Applejack nodded in agreement, hiding all emotion. Yeah, Twa, what if we don't? I'll admit, that did hurt. But worse was how the question hurt Apple Pie and Minty. Then I accept that. Forgiveness is to be given, and I accept that it's your choice if you don't. I won't make you forgive me. That wouldn't be right. You mean that? I nodded. Yes, I swear on Fauna Luster and the father of all alicorns. I do. Rainbow kept it up for a few seconds. Alright, I forgive ya, Rainbow said, giving a chuckle. I was just making sure you still had your right head on your shoulders. I get that you had to choose between two hard things. I get that better than anyone. Nothing to forgive, Applejack smiled. I played along so Rainbow could tell she wasn't just immune to some mind control. Hey! Hey, element of kindness and deceit here. And then we hugged. Isn't there something you've forgotten? Luna asked Rarity. White Alicorn blushed. Oh yes, of course. Rarity chose to go simple for her bartering's material, and made the most polished bronze in the history of Equestria, polished past Samira's shine. Out of all the decorations for her armor, she'd chosen pearls. Why not? Pearls represented truth. Her armor's symbol was the earth, a lot more humble than I thought it would be. All the world's trappings were her guarding. Not what I meant, little sister. Can you tell me what name you were given when you were born? She stood proud and brought a hoof to her heart. I'm Queen Liberalis Hera Sif Elpis Nupitas Equestria, the Tarot Queen of Pentacles. I am the concept of the mortal world. That's a mouthful, Rainbow Dash said. Ditto, Alpie agreed. Derby just nodded. Why can't I have a really long name like that? Sally asked. Let me try. She took in a deep breath, and Luna put her hoof over her mouth just in time. Maybe later, sister. Flowers with a tiny gem at the center, functioning as a seed, grew in beautiful patterns around the castle. Queen Liberish Hera Sith Elith Nupith Equestria? Spike tried to repeat. Queen Libera is simpler, darling. We alicorns prefer to keep our admittedly long-winded names down to 3 or 4 syllables at most. She beamed at Spike. But you can still call me Rarity, dear. I appreciate that very much, Rarity, Spike breathed. I hope you don't mind sharing me, Spike. What? Spike's voice boomed. I am the bride married to all of Equestria, to all the world, and all that lives within me. She looked at the sky. But we'll be needing a wedding ceremony worthy of a goddess. Her horn glowed, as written in the stars above. Then in an undertone, she breathed. Big Sister Galaxia, please indulge me just this once. A new set of constellations formed in the heavens. A boulder, a giant dragon, and 5 familiar ponies. But in place of Rarity and the group of new elements of harmony stood Fluttershy's likeness in the stars. Rainbow looked at the beautiful sight with tears in her eyes. She whispered to Libra, As you wish, darling. A constellation of 3 balloons appeared in the sky in harmony with the others. Rainbow smiled through her tears at the diamonds in the sky. Simply dashing.